as an understood absence. Very good, thank you. Statement of public notice, Adrian?
July 9th, 2024.
Thanks very much. And I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Anything under discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's honor our nation and its flag by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we are working on getting flags and stands for school year. That was something that came up at the last meeting. Oh, you weren't here, that's why. Yeah, we thought it would probably be more appropriate if we had a better flag than one taped to the wall.
Okay.
So maybe some flags and stands,
Sure.
maybe a Wisconsin.
A flag and a stand, okay.
Yeah, a Wisconsin and American flag and a proper stand. That was, whoever brought that up last meeting, that was a great ad. All right, what's next? Is there anyone requesting to address members of the Board of Education tonight? All right, then we will ask you to limit it to 3 minutes. And please go ahead and recite your name and your address as usual. And and we'll give you a microphone as well. So please, you can have. Oh, okay. That's because Shannon's not here.
Thank you.
Okay?
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll put it right there. Okay, so my name is Summer Menzer. I live within Kohler, and I have 2 students in our middle school currently. And I'm not sure if I'm going the right steps of communication, but I just wanted to get it out there in case anything needs to be done behind the scenes for this to be done for my suggestion. I would like to suggest that the cell phone policy be given and received to our high school students on the very first day of school this year. This will also give the opportunity for the advisor to review with the students what is expected of them throughout the day and the responsibility of this privilege that they have. Currently, there may not be enough occurrences throughout our school with the cell phone use that is seeing it as an issue, but this maybe is that the school and the public really has no way of knowing if there's an issue until it does become an issue. Currently, the policy is letting the students stream throughout hallway access and on their lunch hours, where we don't know what our kids are putting out there unless we're monitoring everything, and then if it becomes an issue, it then goes to the school. And that's already crossed the line. So I would like it to be preventative as much as possible to bring the awareness of the policy to the students. So if we're giving, or the parent is giving the responsibility to the child to bring their device to school, it should also be understood that the policy can be reviewed by each individual student and that they can either sign it, initial it. They're getting that breakdown individually rather than assuming because the parent is registering the child that those policies are going over with their kids at home. I think I'm asking that the school take it upon themselves to inform each student that's taking this responsibility of their device to take it to the next step of understanding basically our terms and conditions of what we do after high school as adults. So I just ask if that can be a step taken for our students on the first day of school so that they are fully aware of the consequences and their responsibility. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Summer.
Yes.
Next up, we will go to communications announcements. The board president's report will be very short and sort of informal tonight. July is a quiet month around the school district, but like a duck on the pond, there's a lot going on underneath the water. Tonight, we're going to begin the process of formally searching for Lisa's replacement after retirement. We're glad to have 2 presentations tonight. There are other things going on in the building. The staff is here making room improvements and technology improvements, and we've got a lot of new teammates that we're onboarding. 3 of which are here tonight, and we're glad to have them here. We are there are things going on despite the fact that it's generally a quiet month for our broader team and our families. So as always, to the families that might be watching the stream out there, if there's any topic, please don't hesitate to reach out. to Lisa or the principals. They are on duty throughout the summer, and we know that they're your kids, and we are just stewards of them a few hours a day. So thanks, everybody. We will move on to Lisa's superintendent's report.
So my report's very, very short tonight. We are, as Corey has said, busy preparing for the upcoming 24-25 school year. We will be celebrating 100 years of Kohler High School this year. So a little history lesson for you. So in 1912 was the year that the village decided to build a new school at our present school site. This school was established as a state graded school, not a high school, but more of an elementary school. And in 1921, Lester Conger became the principal of Kohler Schools, and under his leadership, Kohler High School was established in 1925, making this the 100th year of Kohler High School. So however, it wasn't until 1927 when Kohler High School graduated its first class, numbering 7 seniors. And so although this is our 100th year anniversary of Kohler Schools, this year's seniors will be the 99th graduating class, and next year, the year 2026, will be the 100th graduating class at that point. So we're 99th graduating class, but 100 years of Kohler High School this year. So we are looking forward to a special, very fun-filled year. I also want to let parents know that online registration will begin on July 23rd, but please note that Alyssa Fisher, who is our registrar, does not work in the month of July, so any families who have any issues with their registration and need some support can reach out to Alyssa when she returns on August 1st and to request assistance from her. She'd be willing to help at that time. Registration window opened earlier this year to provide parents more time to complete the registration process and to allow us more time to respond and adjust to enrollment numbers as they come in. And that concludes my report.
All right, and no principal reports
No
tonight,
principal
right?
reports.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is the review of district finances. Chair Tara.
We just had a finance meeting right before this at 5 p.m. It was Isaac's first, so thank you for that. There's nothing out of the ordinary going on in finance right now. It was just
Okay.
expenses.
Okey-doke. Anything, Isaac, from your perspective?
No, Tara pretty much said everything, yeah, pretty standard.
Very good. We will move on to the consent agenda. Anybody have a desire to pull out either of the consent agenda items? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
And anything under discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to action and discussion items. We are going to introduce 2 folks who are going to present to us tonight on the topic of leading our search for a replacement superintendent. And I should have flipped a coin. Do either of you have a preference for going? All right, how about if we go in alphabetical order then, and we'll do CISA first.
Sure, that sounds great, thank you. Okay, well,
And yeah, please just introduce yourself, Colleen, to the group. And
I have a couple things I'm gonna pass around. I had shared this with Corey, and I don't know if Corey shared it, if you wanna take one of those, pass it around, it's a little overview. And then I have some slides I'm gonna show, but I wanted you to have a copy of them so you can.
Does she need
So I'm Colleen Tim, agency administrator at, I don't know.
me to hold it? I can just hold it.
Or
pop
yeah,
it off
just the
there.
hand, yeah, just the hand, Mike.
There we go. I'm Colleen Tim, agency
there's
administrator at CISA 7. I have been here and visited with your board, but I don't know if you've had board changeover, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background, and if it's a repeat, I apologize for that. So CISA 7 supports 38 school districts in our region. I have been with that agency for 7 years. This is the beginning of my 7th year, beginning my 3rd year as agency administrator. Prior to coming to CISA 7, I had been a lot of my career in CISA 7 as a principal and as a superintendent in the Mishicot schools. So I bring some experience both as a superintendent and supporting superintendents and boards to this work of doing superintendent searches. So we have about a dozen superintendent searches that we have done in the last couple of years. Myself and our executive administrator, Aaron Malcheski, do these together. And I'm going to take you through some of the timeline and then some of the things that maybe make us stand out, because I know that my counterpart here from WASB is a wonderful, are there extra ones that we had? they're a wonderful agency, and they do great work. But there's a couple things that we do a little bit differently. One is we are an agency that will tap people to come and look into being a superintendent, consider being a superintendent in Kohler. So I know offhand, in the last couple of days as I was thinking about coming down here, people that I know from my 35 years in education that I think would be a good fit here. So I will reach out to those people, so we do recruit. The other thing that we do is we have a lot of automation. So I'm gonna take you through the automation here in a few minutes. When I came before you and talked about CESA 7 services, one of the things I talked about is our success is measured in your success. So we're a completely entrepreneurial organization, meaning we get no state funding, we don't levy taxes. Our funds come in from grants and contracts with state and federal government and with you as our school client. So it is really incumbent on us that we are successful in this. You're gonna see one of the things that we do is once a person is hired by your district, we do monthly coaching for those superintendents, and we do quarterly meetings with the school board and your superintendent. And people take that and they do it different ways. So I just had one of our districts that we did a successful search for this year, and they said instead of 4 quarterly meetings between the board president and the superintendent, we would like you to come and do board development with our full board. So we want to take those 4 hours and we want to be able to apply them differently. And we're happy to do that. You need to tailor it the way that fits you. Some of our superintendents who have gone through the coaching with us in the first year have asked if they can continue in the second year. So we actually have cohorts that continue, and we put them together, and they have connections that they make. So the first point on the sheet that I previously shared is about the unwavering commitment to success. We are not successful as an agency unless you are successful, and so we take our commitment to helping you find a superintendent very seriously. It's one of the most important decisions that you are going to make. Comprehensive understanding of schools and districts. Because we are the CESA that supports Kohler, I like to believe that we have good knowledge of your school district. Our 38 school districts are as unique as can be. You can imagine Washington Island versus Green Bay versus Kohler. You're all very, very different. And so part of our work is to make sure we understand the nuances of your community and how you wrap services around students and what it's going to take for somebody to come in here and build on the strong foundation that you have and take that further. In terms of the automation, this is when we'll take a look at the slides, but you can see that we build a survey tool. If you decide that you want to do a survey, we build a survey tool and it's completely interactive, okay? So if you then get together as a board and you say, okay, we have the results from our survey, tell us what our staff members said. What do they want in the next superintendent? How does that compare to parents with children in the district? How does that compare with people who live in the district but don't have children in our schools currently? So you can break all of that data down and be able to see how those different groups answered those questions, which will help to inform the questions that you're going to ask. It's going to help to formulate those traits that you're going to look for in your candidates. And as you're going through the process, you can come back and check your work against these results in the survey. So again, completely interactive, very easy for your community to take, and then very easy for you to drill down and look at the results of that. And if you want to drive and you want to go to the next one, the search timeline, so we meet with you. We put all of this together in terms of when these events are going to happen, who's going to be involved in these events, where they're going to happen, all of the elements of that, as you can see, again, all tailored to your district. But this, again, is something that you have access to, so you know how we're tracking in accordance with the timeline. So if you say we want to have a superintendent in place by March 1st, we use that and work backward to develop this plan for you. If you say we want 2 focus groups, we want a survey, we put all of that in so you know when it's happening. We'll look at your school calendar, when do you have breaks that we need to be aware of and avoid, all of those kinds of things go into building your timeline. You get to see all of your candidates. So as people apply, a folder is started for that candidate, and all of their application materials are in there. So if you have 28 or 42 applicants or 11, you're going to see their folder with all of their application materials. Then what we do is we create this chart that will populate, and you'll be able to see this live. So if Colleen Tim applies for the job, it's going to go in there, and it's going to check that she has her resume in, she has her letter in, she has her letters of recommendation, she has her transcripts. You will be able to see I have all of that in. Then we are going to put that up against what you have said are your traits. Do you want somebody with superintendent experience? Do you want them from a small school, a big school? Should they be a curriculum leader? Whatever you say, we will rate their application materials against those traits. And again, this is live. The other thing that we do is all of the reference checking. We're scouring the newspapers. We're doing all of those things. If there are good or bad things you need to be aware of, you're going to find that there are notes in this. So you have live access to your timeline. You have live access to your survey results. You have live access to all of your candidates and their materials. And then on this rating sheet. And then, again, the scoring is also automated. So we would have everybody, when you're doing interviews, they would have a computer up. The questions would be on there. They're scoring those folks. They're putting their comments in. And so you're not using your time at the end of your experience. And you have that in your packet, too. But you're not using your time at the end of your experience to tally that. So we take a lot of time, chance for error out by automating a lot of this. And we have a team back home, so if you say, I want this in the survey or that in the survey, it can be tailored to meet your needs. Customizable, I talked about that. Cost effectiveness, so all of our costs are included in the $7,500. Because you're a CISA 7 district, we never charge for mileage to and from our districts. 2-year guaranteed placement. If the person doesn't make it through that time period, we do the service completely for free. Extensive candidate network. Again, we are my counterpart, Erin Malcheski, and I have been superintendents. We've been in this field for a long time, so we have a lot of knowledge of candidates in the field. We've had very good success with our recent superintendent searches and bringing together a nice pool of people for the board to consider. And then the executive coaching, I think that is really important, especially if you get somebody on the beginning tenure of their career as an administrator. So we're there to help guide them through that, and again, do the work with you as well. So also in that document, you can just see the preliminary process is covered, the candidate application, first round of interviews, final round of interviews. You know, our goal is we come along your team as your 12th man, and we take a lot of the work out of your hands, and we provide you with the information for you to consider. We will help you with negotiation of the contract. We have sample contracts you can take a look at if you don't have one that you are happy with yourself. We have evaluation tools that we can share with you. But we're really full service. We want to help you find a good candidate who's going to be successful here, make the process as easy as possible and as transparent as possible. So you can take those survey results that I was talking about, that can go on your website. So your community can say, oh, this is what our, maybe I want somebody who looks like this, but the majority of our community said they want a candidate that brings these skills. They can see it isn't something that the board just unilaterally decided, but when you took the pulse of the community, you can see what the collective view was on that. So that is kind of it in a nutshell. Again, I think the fact that we recruit candidates, I think that we have a lot of the automation, and I think it brings a lot of transparency to the process, both for you to see who is all applying, what they bring. You get the totality of the package that they bring, and then for your community to see that as well. Your timeline also could be put on your website so that your community can see this is what's happening here now. Questions?
Would you be able to tell us who you've hired lately?
Yes, so Southern Door, We just did the process in Southern Door. And they're the ones that asked for us to tailor, they wanted to have their 4 meetings in board work. So we're going up there to work with their full board. Valders. We have done, I gotta think, Sybil Hop, Wrightstown, Union Grove, Mishicot. I'm envisioning the district on the western part of the Hillsborough. And there were others that were done that I didn't do that I'm not going to recall offhand. But those are some of the area, and I would encourage you to call those folks and see how happy they are with the process. Yeah, please.
So, who would our facilitator be? Who would we be working most closely with? Would it be you, or would it be
Aaron
somebody else?
Malcheski and I will do it together.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll tag team on the process. So if we do focus groups, we're going to be there. If there's presentations, he would be with me tonight, but he's on a music trip with his daughter in Hawaii. So yeah, it was kind of a tough pick for him to be here. But it would be the 2 of us working together on it.
Great. Thank you.
Colleen, when you said that you just curious regarding tapping and recruiting candidates, do you do that within CISA 7?
We will, but it'll be because we know that it's somebody in, say, an assistant superintendent role, somebody who's aspiring to the role, or we know so many of these people in our boards that, you know, I would know if it's the right time and the right place to be able to tap a sitting superintendent for that.
Great, thank you. And when you, I liked the whole spreadsheet with where you put all the notes in and everything. So that would include things that you find out from employers and also that you just know from your own personal experience?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm, you know, we're careful in what we put in there, but you will know that it's either, you know, a red flag, a yellow flag, or this is green and clear for you to consider.
Thank you.
So someone could reasonably say WASB has a wide net because they're statewide.
Yes, they
and
do.
CISA has more of a regional focus. How would you address that question of they can cast a wider net?
Some of the people that I'm thinking about for you are not from CISA 7, and it's because we work on statewide projects. So as a CISA, there are 12 of us in the state, and we take turns or we share statewide leadership on different projects. One of the projects that we have led for a lot of years has been redefining READY. So we know people from all over the state through those projects.
Okay.
And I would say we know people at a lot of different levels of administration pretty intimately across the state because of those statewide projects.
Okay. And if someone were to say, hey, CISA has a lot of services they do, and WASB's services are a little bit more tailored and a little more narrow, so maybe their focus is going to bring, you know, better performance to it. Talk to us about how CISA 7 with your team and Aaron can juggle so many balls and still be just pit bulls when it comes to recruiting.
Well, one of the things is because though we offer a lot of services, we don't all deliver all of those services. So, you know, I have a much more narrow scope of the services that I actually engage in compared to my team. We do, you're right, we do hundreds of different things. I do a handful of those. And you know, when I was a superintendent, I relied on WASB, and they did a great job. I would never say anything poor about them because they're a phenomenal organization that you need. What I would submit, having never worked there, what I would submit is we know an organization sort of top to bottom, right? Because we work with your teachers, we work with your principals, we work with your superintendent, and we work with boards. So I think we bring a pretty good understanding of your organization kind of from top to bottom, if you will.
Thank you. Team, you're going to be working with whoever we pick. Any questions about the process? Lisa?
No questions.
Okay. Okay.
All right, handing it over
All right.
to the other side of the alphabet.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just take 1 second to something I probably should have done at the beginning just to set it up for the community to understand. Both organizations will help us navigate a process where the community is involved, the teachers are involved, the admin are involved, and the school board is involved, all those constituencies. And then there will be listening sessions, there will be this survey they've talked about. So I just want the community to understand that both organizations, whoever we choose, this will be a listening to the community. They will help us diagnose what skills, what resume is needed, but what affect and behavioral traits are needed as well. They will help us get to that. So we can choose the right person. So both organizations will help us, will do a great job at helping us through that. So, all right, Kelly, we will pray to the technology gods.
All right.
This left one has a mind of its own. I don't know it was, yeah.
Well, good evening. I'm Kelly Thompson, and I am newly retired. I retired from the school district, Muskego Norway School District. I was there for 30 years and was the superintendent there for 11. So I retired primarily due to my father's health. So it's been, a trial of, heartstrings from that standpoint, but a wonderful opportunity that I can pour myself out still in a professional way with WASB and working as a consultant for them. So my primary role is really consulting with school boards and districts around governance and whether it's working on board development or if it's working to support searches. So I personally was on 3 this last spring, Whitnall, Raymond, and Cudahy, and just wonderful opportunity to bring a board together, all of them unanimously approving the candidate that they selected. So that process is really super important to make sure that everybody's on board and working together. So thank you so much for having me and providing an opportunity to share with you a little bit about the WASB process for the superintendent search. So we can advance to the next one, thank you. So far beyond anything that is the number one goal is for us to help you find your next leader who will help you continue to show your excellence, that you will find somebody who will use your mission to ensure that the strategic plan is being fulfilled each day. So congratulations on a really wonderful excellence that you've achieved, and I know that you want to continue to maximize and achieve. So I too, as CISA 7 we're partners with you. It is your process, it is our process that we bring to you, but it's very flexible. It is about what do you need in order for us to support you to make sure that these continue to grow in an excellent way. So congratulations on that. Our approach, I'm standing in front of you. I would be the consultant that would be leading this with you, but there are 7 other consultants, and there's a legal team behind me. There's all kinds of other things. So just so you know, it's not just me, which is really a wonderful thing about WASB. The process is articulated, but like I said, there is flexibility for sure. We have a pool of candidates that are already part of the portal, which is our technology piece for WASB, where we also would be collecting everything digitally, and we would be then providing you with an opportunity to see every single candidate if you'd like, and which is part of the process. So you would be able to see each one of them. You'd see their entire information from cover letters and references and all of that kind of stuff. But the actual portal has about 600 individuals who are looking for jobs, have looked for jobs, are part of the WASB candidate crew, if you will. And so you would have access essentially to them in a sense that we would be sending out emails to all of them saying there's a position available in Kohler if you're interested. We also post on WASB all the social media, the Wisconsin School Leadership Center. We send to 30 colleges and universities. We distribute to CSAs, to distribute to superintendents. We have a network nationally through the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searches. And as a member of that NASS, there are about 40 other states that are part of that would also get information about this particular vacancy. And the connection hub at the National School Boards Association as well. So it's very broad. Just to reiterate that this is an incredibly important task for the board, and you would see WASB and myself as a partner in that. Okay. So why WASB? We start with a strong supportive relationship. Again, it's us supporting you. There's a long history, 34 years of search experience, over hundreds and hundreds of searches that WASB has conducted. It specializes in Wisconsin, so we know the issues that Wisconsin school boards are dealing with and the issues that are part of communities. The broad network that I have already indicated, you'll see all the candidates, the professional support that I spoke of. There is a resource guide that each board member will receive that has all kinds of information in it articulated for you. You'll have opportunities to use rating scales and things like that, just to support you through the process. Lots of stuff in here. Legal counsel that I mentioned, the transition meeting. So we also have a 2-year guarantee, and the transition meeting is really, and it could be chopped up in multiple days if you'd like, or one 2 to 4 hour session that would transition the new superintendent along with the board, working through goal setting and things like that. We also have a very strong retention rate, and the fee that we would provide you with is not to exceed, so you would only pay for the services and nothing beyond. So these are the stages: the planning, preparation, engagement of stakeholders, application, interview, candidate selection, and then that transition piece that I just spoke of. So we'll just go into a little bit of each one of them just to give you a sense about the comprehensive-ness of it. So for planning, we will have a meeting, and it'll be open for transparency with your public, to talk about what are the components. You'll have an articulated timeline. This was part of the document that you all received in the last couple days. We'll finalize the timeline. We'll have a board focus group. We'll talk to you about, what do you want to see in the next superintendent? What's going great in Kohler? Where do you see opportunities for enhancement? Things like that. And then we will start to post the vacancy and open that portal for any interested applicants to start putting in their resume, their licenses, and their transcripts. Then we engage with the stakeholders, and that includes focus groups. We did add a few, just with Ben talking with Corey, indicating that 3 would probably not be sufficient, so making sure that we have a couple of community opportunities, having staff maybe split with support staff and, professional staff, looking at, potential, if you'd like, some high school students part of a focus group, and administrators, things like that. So we would talk about what those 5 other focus groups would look like. Community and staff survey also is, a opportunity to get information from the community and the staff about what they're looking at, what do they see as positives, where are opportunities from their perspective, and those could be disaggregated down so that you could see who's saying what. And then that information is brought together to create a profile, essentially, and that's what is posted so that everybody understands what they're looking for. And this is just an example of what that would look like. So there's information about the district on the front page, and then the actual candidate profile that would be gleaned from those focus groups and the community staff survey would be on the next page, and then more specifics about the district. So it's a 4-page informational brochure that's sent out, and it's part of the portal, it's part of the website, it's part of your website, and that's the communication tool to say, this is what we're looking for, who's interested? Then we collect the applications. Individuals who are interested in the position provide their letters of intent, reference checks. If you're doing any essay questions for those applicants, we would be collecting that information. The resource binder would be coming to you with specifics about comparables as far as compensation, things like that would be coming to the board at that time. And then, as I noted earlier, the board would have access to all of those applicants and applications. First round interview, I would be contacting the first round candidates to set up the schedule. We'd have a closed session first to look through all those applicants and determine who does the board want to bring in. That would be a closed session. There's some sample questions in the binder that you could look at. We can create our own, and then the interviews are conducted. Usually it's 5 to 6 for the first round, and then at that time we would then at that point in time, those 5 or 6 would be brought down to maybe 3 or 4, depending on where the board's at. And that final round is, we would be coming together to talk about what interview questions does the board want to ask. Typically, after each one of those first round candidates, we would be talking about what strengths do you hear from that candidate and what questions do you have, so that that second part, the what questions do you have, could create those more personalized questions that would be coming through during that final round interview. During the first round, we typically like to have the candidates come forward to say, do a presentation of self, so you see what their presentation style is like. You get to learn a little bit more about them, like who they are as a person, as an educator, and as a leader. In the final round, we usually ask the candidate to bring forward a 90-day entry plan so that they can, so you can see what are they going to be doing? What are their first things that they find are super important, gathering with staff, whatever it is. And so you'll be able to get a good handle on that as well. And then the final interview questions can be very tailored to that candidate based on what you heard during that first round. Then there's also an opportunity for community and staff listening sessions. We often will have school districts ask staff members or community members, what questions do you have for the new, for those finalists, and creating an opportunity for them, for those constituents to hear from the finalists. Not a back and forth, it's not a forum, it's a listening session. So we would address maybe 3 or 4 questions to each of the candidates, and the listening panel would then be able to provide the board with some feedback about what strengths do they hear from each of those finalists and what are the questions that they might still have, so that the board can consider that at that point. During that time, we would also, the WASB does the criminal, financial, and educational background checks. The school board would be completing the reference checks, and there's in that binder, there's information on how to conduct those reference checks, but it's really important that you get the information firsthand. You can have one person do all 3, you can, or 4, depends on how many candidates you have, or you can split it up and have, different board members talk to, references for each one of them. And then the final interviews are conducted and the listening sessions are conducted. And then you select your final candidate, the one that you want to bring forward. And there's the negotiation of employment contracts. We recommend, we have a sample, certainly, and we have attorneys that can help you. But also bringing forward your attorney, because that will be a contract that you will be renewing every 2 years, and so you want to make sure that your attorney is also part of those conversations. And then there's an introduction of the new superintendent. So similar to CISA 7, again, that transition support that would happen after after you've decided on which candidate you're going to hire. That will happen after that. And then just some other services. There is a new superintendent evaluation framework. And actually, there would be no fee for you for the first 3 years if you do select and you would like to use WASB superintendent evaluation framework. You would have that at no additional fee. There's also other like strategic planning and board policy services and things like that that you could also, have us support you if you'd like moving forward. And that's no, we don't need that one. And any questions?
It's not listed on here. What is the fee?
Oh, it's in the actual proposal. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This was just a summary of it. Sorry.
No worries.
Any other questions?
I do, but I'm happy to let everybody else go first.
I just have a quick one. You
Sure.
mentioned a strong. You mentioned a strong retention rate.
Yeah.
When you look at that, are you doing that over a 2-year period or?
Yeah, so there's a 99% retention rate after the first year, 87% after the second year, and 84% after the third year.
And when was that collected?
Over a four-year period, 2017-18 through 22.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So one of the big differences, before I ask that question, can you tell us about the NASS a little bit and the data that's in there and how you use that as a tool to recruit?
Well, it is, it's just our connections, the WASB's connections with that association. So what they do is they provide, there's just this opportunity to share information about different positions that are open. So that's what it is. It's
Across
just
40 states.
yes,
ish.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know if that's me or you.
And so then one of the big differences is the CISA 7 will spin the Rolodex and reach out and recruit people, actively recruit. Tell us a little bit about why, I understand why you don't want to do that, but tell me about how that's not a disadvantage for you.
Well, one thing, we have relationships, there are 7 other consultants, and we do have relationships with school boards and with school districts because we work not only with school boards, but with administrators and with, I don't know, I'm sorry. And so we have administrators reaching out to us as well. So when they know something is happening, and then also just the connection that administrators have with WASB, they know when something is coming up, or they're able to look on. So we don't actively go out and say so-and-so, this position is here, but they know it's easy enough for candidates to find out about those positions that are available. And we're very visible, if you will, in our areas. So we're able to build those relationships with different administrators and different teams at all the school districts in our little section.
Thank you. So my
Yeah.
hypothesis is, a way to describe the difference is, and I think it's when this is on, that screeches,
Oh.
that there may be a perfectly happy and content superintendent somewhere, or someone with a license that's a principal somewhere, that let's go out and jostle and shake the trees a little bit and say, hey, I know you're not looking, but let me tell you about something. Does that process, is that essentially, even though these relationships you're talking about, do you essentially do that, or is that just not something you do because you don't want to be fishing in your own pond?
You know, if there are individuals who have indicated, I'm thinking I might, those are individuals that we would reach out to just say, we understand it's like an aspiring assistant superintendent or something who is looking for a position, and knowing them and knowing what's going on, there might be an opportunity for us to say, did you see that, and that's.
The cost differential is significant, and so I want to give you the opportunity to explain why that cost differential. What are we getting for with that extra coin?
Well, I think primarily it's I haven't gone through CISA 7's process, but I would say that it is the team approach, it's the wide net, it's the postings and the reach that you would get from a statewide organization that has feelers out into the national kind of landscape, that would be a big part of it. And with consultants in all over the state, we're able to talk about each one of these positions that are open and have conversations about potential candidates and things like that. So it is the wide net, I guess, when it comes down to it. And a strong process and transition and yeah.
Premium product, right? Premium
Yeah,
pricing.
yeah.
That's the positioning
That's
anyway.
That's it.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? Colleen, if I can ask you a couple of follow-ups. One would be, I'm going to invert the questions I asked Kelly.
Sure.
So your fee is much lower. How is it that you are able to deliver excellence with such a different fee structure?
We're a nonprofit, so we're going to provide as many services. If you saw our communication that came out this year, $4.5 million flowed through CISA 7 as free services to our district. So our goal is always to provide no-cost or low-cost services to you because we're a nonprofit. So you already pay me, districts pay for one of the fees that you pay to CISA is for my role at CISA, so you're not going to pay twice for that. So you'll pay for some of the additional support that we have in the office with our team, our support staff who help put things together for us or design the surveys for you and that kind of thing. But it just comes down to how we operate as an organization. We're low cost, no cost. We're supposed to come alongside of your team and help you achieve your goals at the lowest cost possible.
Similar, and I know if there's a smaller base, you have 38 districts, she's got the whole state.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have similar, what I'll call rework rates or failure, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year failure rates? Are you able to talk to us about that?
And one of the things I'll talk about too is, so Kelly talked about reaching out to CISA, so do we. So there's a network of 12 agency administrators that look just like me across the state. And so when several of us do searches, and so we use each other for that same purpose in the way that WASB does. But, and refresh, what was the other part of the question? I'm missing it.
The
Yes.
rate at which first year, second year, third year doesn't work out rate.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we've done that. That isn't a statistic that we've put up here, but we've never had to do another search, so we haven't had anybody not finish and complete their 2 years. But I was thinking of all of the ones that I know, they've all gone 4 years or more. So they're still happily in their roles. So that's a stat we'll have to put together for the future and for you. But I think it comes down to, because we know our districts pretty intuitively. And we spend a lot of time putting together like those surveys and things to help you get as accurate a view as possible of what your community is looking for, so you can represent that in this important process. And so I do feel like, and Kelly would probably say the same thing. Not only am I going to tap people for this work, but if somebody called me, and I would say as a agency administrator, there are people that will say to me, Colleen, I'm looking for a job. If you hear something, let me know. But if it was somebody who I didn't believe fit the profile of what you were looking for here, I wouldn't be afraid to say to them, this might not be the right time or the right place, for you to put your toe in the water for that, because I want them to be successful too.
The my last question is maybe for the both of you. How often does a search like this for a district like ours result in hiring someone from more than a commutable distance away? How often do you hire somebody from 200-300 miles away, a district our size?
For us, I mean, there are plenty of our people that are having to relocate to get to their current district. So they'll do their research on you too, and they are looking for very specific things. You know, the education world has gotten a little more chaotic and volatile in recent years, and so they want it to be successful as well. And so we do have people that are sometimes renting an apartment so they can be in their new community, sometimes moving their whole family. I don't know if I would know the distance of that, but it's not something that people are afraid to do. They would rather have a good fit for themselves. And I think in some cases when you hear the stories that there are fewer candidates than there were at one time, it probably is because people are saying, I want to be ready, and I want to end up on the front page of the paper as this not being successful. So people are being really thoughtful about that process. But, you know, I've been very pleased with the pool of people that we have had. I think our boards have been very, very pleased. I will tell you, I think you're a very attractive district, and you're going to have a lot of interest in this position. I think a lot of regional interest, but I also wouldn't be afraid to bet you're going to have statewide and national interest. You're a very attractive district. You have a great foundation that your team here has built, that you have led as board members. You're a delightful community. You're going to have great interest in this position.
Similarly with WASB and the searches, you know, you're going to get some that are going to be from far, but most of the WASB candidates do come from Wisconsin. It might just be from the other side of the state or whatever, but they do a great job recruiting. You know, in this day and age, we had about 20 candidates for both Whitnall and for Cudahy, for example. And you know, that's good for this time, and you know, as far as search goes. You're out early though, and you are a very attractive district, so I wouldn't be surprised if you get more than that. Quality.
Okay, thanks. And the purpose for the question was to talk about that net. You've got this 40-state network, but it sounds like it would be really, really rare to get somebody from, you know, some unknown who's this really up-and-coming assistant principal from, you know, Massachusetts or...
We do have candidates in each of the pools that I've done that are from out of state. It's just they weren't the ones selected. And primarily because when you have candidates who can speak the Wisconsin education, you know, that's very appealing too.
We've had the same thing, so we've had people come from out of state. You know, we've had Alaska and Washington and of course Michigan and some of the regional. But what you see sometimes is people have gone away when they were younger and they've established themselves in their career. Now they're ready for this kind of change and they want to bring their families back here by family. You know, there's some statistic that says most people end up within 50 miles of where they grew up. And so I think we see some of that of people wanting to come back home, and so they have an interest in returning to Wisconsin from out of state. But in ours too, I mean, I would say we're probably in the mid-20s, upper 20s of the recent searches that we have done, and I think in the ones that I've done, there have been people from out of state in each of those.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly. Yeah.
I have one for both Kelly and Colleen. We touched on it a little bit, but could you explain how you've seen the candidate pool for superintendents change in the last 5 years and how you've had to pivot your services or your recruitment?
I haven't been part of it for 5 years, but I would say from just being part of WASB and talking about, you know, the process and what they've been doing, it is about ensuring that there's board development prior to some of the searches, so that there is a sense of you know, togetherness from the board, and making sure that they have they understand the goals and the importance of finding the right candidate. And if they are not on board together as a board, that can that can sway people away from a district. It doesn't appear that you have that issue, but that would be something that some districts have had to go through first, you know, like let's work through our issues before we look for somebody to lead us from an administrative standpoint.
And as an agency of our 38 school districts, this year we'll have 11 new people in their seats. Last year we had 5, and the year before we had 12. So, you know, you think about 26-ish of our 38 will have turned over in 3 years. When I came in as a superintendent in 2007, you know, it was a much more veteran pool of superintendents. I think you see superintendents leaving earlier, and people are coming in with less experience. So as an agency, it has caused us to pivot because we provide greater support, because we have so many people that are coming in pretty green. So not only do we talk about that support that we provide superintendents throughout the year, which I think is critical, but we're starting cohorts just for first year superintendents and then people who are in years 2 and 3 to continue. It's a very challenging time to come into this role. Mistakes are played out very publicly with social media. So people are being more careful and thoughtful about stepping into the role. And then we feel like at CISA, you know, there is a big responsibility for us to support those people as they get their feet under them and kind of learn the ropes of superintendency and really enmesh themselves in your community. So it's changed a lot, you know, and this is my 7th year at CISA. It's changing rapidly.
Great, thank you.
Colleen, I just have one quick question. I'm assuming the answer is yes, but would you do comparables similar to WASB?
In terms of helping you set the
With the
salary and that
contract
kind of
and
thing?
yes, all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So one
I
of the things
figured it
we'll
was.
look at is districts that look like you from across the state. And we actually see the 12 CISAs actually survey our school districts for that salary information. So we'll be able to, you tell us what you want. Do you want it by your county, by your athletic conference, contiguous districts that look like you across the state? We'll find those comparisons and put it together with you, for you.
You guys keep bringing up great topics. For both of you, I think 3.8 years is like the average now for superintendents. Is it unrealistic for a district that looks like ours, for a high-performing district, small rural district like us? Is it possible for us to find a candidate who will stay 6, 7, 8 years if we can get into a good groove? Are some people staying?
I think that's also one of the changes that we're seeing at one point. And remember, I was in Mishka. Districts like that would have been seen as a stepping stone, that people want to get to the bigger ones. But what we're seeing is that when people go into a district and it's a good fit, they're staying, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So that's why I think that induction piece that we do to help the board and the superintendent get off to a really good start is super important. Because once you get them and you get that relationship established, it increases your ability to keep them.
Similarly, I mean, it's the same thing with WASB, the transition piece, you know, making sure that the board and the superintendent are, you know, off on a good start and a strong start, and the opportunity for ongoing conversations and coaching and things like that. It's very important. So it's really the board taking, you know, taking it seriously that they want to hold on to the superintendent. They want to have a good start with them, and then doing what they can to make sure that the communication, the relationship stays strong and fresh, and yeah.
All right, well, we
Thank you.
both for coming and for the proposals and the presentations. You've really helped us. You've given us a tough decision. It's going to be a great conversation.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
having me, having both of us. It is an important decision ahead of you. If you have any other questions, you know, don't hesitate to reach out, and good luck to you in the process. It's important work, but it's good work.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, team.
We will continue on with the rest of the business tonight, the rest of the agenda. Next item is the approval of the pupil non-discrimination report. This will be to approve and forward this report to DPI. I'd entertain a motion. discussion, I would just, for the record, we had a committee of the whole meeting last evening where we talked about this. It was presented to the board as the committee of the whole. There was a great conversation about what does it mean? Does it mean this? Does it mean that? And give us some historical context and what is contained in the report. Really good dialogue last night. We appreciate that. And it was the recommendation of the committee of the whole to us as a board to approve and forward this report. Any other discussion? Okay, then all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Similarly, the library plan, I'd entertain a motion to accept and forward the library plan.
So moved. Second.
All right, and under discussion, the same thing. The library team was here presenting to us last night. We understand the reason for the report. We learned a lot about the funding of our library and how lucky we are to have a community library that is a partnership between the school district and the community. It's a really, really powerful thing. But this is not something that this board approves. This board just forwards to DPI, right? Yeah, so the motion is to accept and forward. Any other discussion? Okay, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to accept the resignation of middle school teacher Yvonne Brugnick. I'd entertain a motion to accept that resignation.
So moved. Second.
Anything under discussion?
No, we thank Yvonne for her service and we wish her the best in the future.
Okay, then all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to accept, to accept the administration's recommendation to open seats for students on the wait list with siblings accepted or currently attending.
So moved. Second.
All right, and again, for the public, this was also discussed, the numbers were discussed at a previous board meeting and then last night clarified at the committee of the whole meeting, and there was a great conversation around it. Anything else under discussion? All right, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to approve the following student academic standards. Wisconsin academic standards for mathematics. I would, by the way, entertain a motion to approve what I'm about to say. Wisconsin academic standards for science, Wisconsin academic standards for English language arts, Wisconsin academic standards for social studies for the 24-25 school year, pursuant to Wisconsin statute 120.213, and adopt the academic standards as board adopted standards required by statute 118.31G Alpha 1. That's a mouthful. Anyone?
So moved. Second.
All right. Anything under discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next three items are about handbooks. The documents are in board docs, the public side of board docs, right? The public? Okay. So we have had a chance to read these and ask any questions we have. There are some modifications to each of the three books. We'll do them separately in case anybody has any questions or concerns, but they are all pretty similar in their changes. So I would entertain a motion to approve the Kohler Public School Teaching Staff Handbook.
So moved.
And anything under discussion for that one? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Similarly, a motion to approve the Kohler Public School Support Staff Handbook.
So moved. Second.
Anything under discussion for the support staff book? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, approve the Kohler, I'd entertain a motion to approve the Kohler Public School Administrative Handbook.
So moved. Second.
And anything under discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. There's no other business before the board. The board's going to go into a closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation. We're going to talk about the two proposals that we heard about tonight, and we will come out of that making a decision which we will vote on in closed session and then forward the result to you two so that can be known publicly by the people. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved. Second.
And anything under discussion? All right, we're